Hey, thanks so much. Welcome, everybody, to the Future of Hospitality Hiring 2024. We're so excited you're here. I look forward to spending the next half hour to 40 minutes CEO here at Hireology, where we are on a mission to help all of you build your best possible team. Today, my goal for this webinar is to answer these questions as we cover data that is hot off the presses from our recent applicant study. Number one, are you facing the same challenges as your peers when it comes to hiring and retention? Second, where are your peers in the industry sourcing top candidates for hard to fill roles, like all the housekeeping openings we're all struggling to fill here in the US? Third, what are your hospitality peers' goals as it relates to recruiting and hiring in the year ahead? And fourth, what opportunities do you have to stay and capture your fair share of today's hospitality industry job seekers? A little bit more about the research. In December of last year, so just a month ago, we conducted really the only survey of HR employees at hotels and resorts across the US. So this is a sample of HR leaders and managers and operators at hotels across the U.S. And we touched on the following themes. First, we asked about hiring challenges looking ahead for the year. Second, we asked questions around average hiring speed. So we're hoping you're able to benchmark yourself against what your peers are saying. Third, what channels are working both for sourcing new applicants and for making hires? And then finally, where are you bottlenecked? We're going to dig into the results here. A reminder, the Q&A window at the top of your Zoom will give you the opportunity to ask questions. Diana will be moderating those at the end. So if you have questions, fire away. We'll take them at the end. Without further ado, let's dig into results. So the first theme that I want to touch on from the data in our survey is overall hiring challenges in our industry. So we'll go through what other hotel operators are struggling with as it relates to hiring retention, as well as our advice for overcoming these challenges. So whether you're an owner and operating this yourself, or whether you're a 3PM doing this on behalf of asset managers, we are here to help you understand what it is that's going on out there in the industries. So here's the punchline. It's still real hard out there. Hotels still find this hiring climate more or less untenable. So despite a cooling job market, we've been in a white collar or knowledge work employment recession for the last 9 months. Despite that, we are finding that hotels and resorts are encountering a hiring climate that is incredibly challenging. 89% saying hiring is a challenge. That's 9 out of 10. And I would love to talk to the 1 out of 10 that aren't having a problem with this, because we haven't found them yet. But 1 in 10 say they're fine. Most of us say this is tough. 80% say retention is a challenge. 63% say they feel that recruiting and retaining Gen Z workers, that's this incoming cohort, is more difficult than with other generations. So entry-level hiring challenges and early career hiring challenges now, and then 52% saying less than 40% of their hires made last year are still employed with them. So turnover rate, it's a big hole in the bucket, right? So we've got to replace people as fast as we can bring them in the door. And it makes for a really challenging environment when you add all that together. So when you think about the state of employment in hospitality over the last few years, this data makes sense. The pandemic required many of these workers to look elsewhere for a paycheck. And given the supply-demand imbalance in the job market when the economy opened back up, I mean, we were as intense as 2 open jobs for every 1 person. Now we're at about 0.7 employees for every job. So it's we still have a demand imbalance. And when you look at all of that, there are plenty of opportunities for people to work basically wherever they want. And so they're looking and enjoying the added benefits of flexibility and career growth in other industries. And so on top of that, younger workers entering the workforce are less likely to choose hospitality than other professions, making it challenging the right strategy to recruit them. So let's talk about this data at the next level down. Where do the greatest challenges lie when it comes to hiring at hotels and resorts? Well, most report that housekeepers, unsurprisingly, are the most difficult role that they have to fill today, followed second by F&B staff, and third, front desk. And again, given what we're seeing with declining interest among younger workers, combined with opportunities for higher pay and somewhat greater flexibility elsewhere, the results of this question, again, make sense. Simply put, there are just fewer people out there actively seeking these roles to meet the demand that we all have for open seats in our hotels. And demand for these types of roles is only going to increase as we continue to enjoy kind of peak travel spending now in the US versus what we saw peak pre-pandemic. So not only are housekeepers difficult to hire, but they're even more difficult to retain, with our survey respondents saying about half, half saying this reporting, this issue is, the highest turnover in the shop. And I think this can be attributed to the same issues I mentioned earlier. Perceptions of low pay, limited flexibility combined with other employment options elsewhere, and that's leading to higher turnover. The good news is that throughout this webinar, I will cover strategies you can implement today to give yourself a leg up at finding and retaining the right people for your housekeeping roles. So when we asked respondents to dig deeper into why are they finding hiring so challenging, no-shows / ghosting topped the list, meaning they're able to get candidates to apply, but then they often drop out of the process without warning at some point. And in the years past, when we've conducted this survey, we've typically found that applicant volume tops the list, not being able to find enough people. But now what we're seeing is a speed and process issue amongst our HR leaders. And so job seekers typically ghost you for interviews when they get other jobs faster, or the process you are putting them through is too long and or too complicated. This shift might be due to inflation pressure, leading folks to re-enter the workforce at a high rate and take jobs as fast as they can, but they still have the upper hand and plenty of options for work. So they can afford to be very, very selective if they aren't getting a response from you fast enough, or if your hiring process just doesn't fit their schedule or needs, meaning it's not mobile friendly, which we get to on the next slide, or there are just other things slowing it down overall. So what can you do to navigate these challenges? First thing you can do, and really foundational, is to start with your employment brand. The number one way you can stand out during a time of high competition and low talent supply is with a standout employer brand. This is especially important given what we're seeing as a negative perception of hospitality roles in particular. Things that pop up in the survey from applicants are things like, well, it's a low pay industry, there's not a lot of flexibility, I don't have a lot of room for growth. Again, perceptions probably trumping reality. We know these things are not true broadly in this business, but that's the perception we have to fight. So before you make any other changes to your recruitment strategy, it's critical that you spend time revisiting your employment branding and messaging materials. This might mean drafting new positioning about what makes your hotel stand out. Maybe you offer exceptional work-life balance. Maybe you have schedule flexibility. Maybe you have a defined career path that you talk about in all areas of the operation. Or maybe it's redesigning the look and feel of your career site and other branding materials to just meet people where they are. The second thing you can do is foster relationships with local schools. There's no doubt that the youngest generation in today's workforce is just absolutely critical to helping our industry fill important roles, both front and back of house. But many of today's younger workers are often encouraged to pursue knowledge-based work, even in hourly or blue-collar work. And so once you've revamped your employer brand, you can start taking your messages directly to this generation of workers at high schools, at tech and trade schools, and at four-year colleges. Digital channels for recruitment, like job boards, are critical. They're always critical. They're always important. But nothing beats face-to-face conversations when it comes to swaying opinion. So, we see successful operators offering to speak to groups of students enrolled in relevant programs, right? So if the high school, community college, or local college has relevant hospitality programs or feeder programs, that's where you want to be. Creating on-site job shadow programs are an option, and other learning opportunities. Creating a scholarship program for students, put them through school and with an obligation to work for you after. I mean, really, I've seen many hotels get really creative here and embrace a similar approach. These programs, if you think about it, the most successful at this for the last 40 years has been enterprise rent-a-car. And so you ask yourself, what is that job? That job, if I were to describe it to you, is you're going to park and wash cars in a parking garage at the airport. That it's not glamorous, but for the last 40 years, enterprise has been the number one hiring employer of college graduates in the United States, and they do it by selling opportunity. If you come to work here, we're going to get you ready for an exceptional career with training and leadership in all roles in the operation. And you're either going to have a great career with us, or you're going to have a great career somewhere else, but you're going to have a great career if you start your career with us. It's a great pitch. And the program is designed to get recent grads in the door, where they spend a few years in a defined rotation in the highest demand roles. And I'm seeing hotels start to pick this up, particularly those with multiple locations. We're talking about programs that rotate folks around hotels, and you don't have to be one of the giant brands to do this. You can do this with 3, 4, 5 hotels. You rotate folks, you give them different opportunities, and it helps you get people in the door because you're selling a career path and training, and you're going to be doing everything. You're never too small to do something like this. So I would push you to think really creatively about a program like this. Third, chances are your high-performing team members know people just like them, and so why not leverage that? Let's turn our best employees into our best recruiters. And of course, most of you have an employee referral program in place, but the key is finding ways to get more out of it. So make it a requirement for new hires to list people they know from previous roles, or give it a strong push. You can't require people to do that, but give it a strong push, or consistently reach out to staff in ways that meet them where they are. So it's text messaging and not email. It's doing it programmatically with technology, not having to remind people to tell people to put your name on their job application, and then we're tracking it in Excel and nobody knows who's getting paid out or not. And it's just a mess. What it leads is to lower referral rates. So at times of highest demand, consider raising your bonus amounts. Consider moving to a platform that manages this with technology. Consider changing the way that you're running your program. All of these things help you get more people in the door. Fourth, once you have great candidates interested in your open roles, you've really got to do everything you can to keep them engaged throughout your hiring process and combat no-show problems that we discussed earlier. Texting is just the best way you can do that to ensure that your top candidates remain interested in your opportunities. Texting can be used to not only move the hiring process forward, think scheduling interviews, kicking off onboarding, but it can also be used as a great tool for simply ensuring top candidates know what they're getting when they work for you. So you can use text to remind candidates of benefits, competitive pay, growth opportunities. We can send text reminders also before interviews to say, hey, look, we're really interested in talking with you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. When you get here, you can park in this lot, enter in this door, ask for this person by name. We really look forward to seeing you. It's a way, almost a red carpet or concierge approach to bringing people in at all levels, and it really, really works. And then finally, create a great day one for them. A great employee onboarding program is the single biggest thing you can have that drives a higher retention rate. Study after study shows that one of the biggest drivers of retention is great onboarding. When's the last time you revisited your onboarding program? Don't make employees spend day one sitting in a conference room filling out tax forms and I-9 information. They can do that digitally before they arrive. So they're focusing on learning the role and meeting people and getting immersed in the culture during their first days and weeks. And so include a documented week one plan for new hires well in advance. Take them through it in the interviewing process. Sell the onboarding that you have as a benefit, and talk about how that lays the groundwork for long-term success in the role. It also helps you build relationships, and it also helps you get to know folks a little bit better on the way in. Everyone wins when you get that right. Next, I want to touch on what we're seeing from hotels and resorts when it comes to benefits offered and overall job design. So for the most part, hotels and resorts are offering a great range of benefits in employment across the board, with workplace culture, schedule flexibility, and career pathways topping the list of things folks are promoting to get people hired. And when we ask job seekers what benefits they value the most outside of pay earlier this year in our applicant study, the same benefits topped their list as well. So in other words, if you're part of the cohort of hotels not offering and promoting these benefits, especially schedule flexibility, which is absolutely critical in an industry like ours known for long hours, you're likely missing out on top talent that's choosing to apply to your competitors due to better benefits offered. So career growth is the area where we see the most room for improvement in hospitality. Many workers, especially younger workers, see the hospitality sector as limiting in terms of growth. That's a perception, that's not reality. And in our applicant study, we found that growth is actually the second most important, career growth specifically, the second most important benefit after flexibility. And anyone who works in hospitality knows that the career growth opportunities are really endless due to the sheer variety of things you do in a hotel. The problem here is that there's a disconnect between perception and that reality, and it's up to us as employers to not only formalize those career pathways, but to also market that on the front end to our local labor markets and in the recruiting process, so job seekers understand this is more than a paycheck. This is a career opportunity, and that's really critical. This data should come as no surprise, but when we asked respondents how much they've increased wages in order to attract top talent, 88% of your peers said they have increased wages, with 34% noting they've increased wages by more than 10%. So while increasing wages over the past year has, of course, been necessary, given inflationary pressure combined with a continued talent shortage, it is worth noting that wage wars are not the way to win in our labor market. You're essentially competing with a commodity strategy, right? Where the best price wins. I'm going to sell you my time for the most money. That time for money transaction and trade is a commodity strategy, and anyone can pay an extra 50 cents an hour, and it's a race to zero profit. In fact, in our applicant study I mentioned earlier, 90% of job seekers in the hospitality industry are willing to take a lower paying job in exchange for the right things. So if you think back to the previous slide, the way to win without constantly ratcheting up your hourly rate is to offer the right blend of benefits. And of course, it's critical that you have to market those benefits. What are the three things that top our list? It is schedule flexibility, career path, and fulfilling work. Those are the things that 90% of the market's willing to trade an extra $1 an hour for in order to find an employer that offers those things. So those are the things we really want to be keying in on. We also found 66% of hotels and resorts have a formal DEI program in place. So if you're part of the 35% that does not have a focused DEI strategy, this is also hurting your ability to build a quality pipeline because applicants really care that you care. Study after study shows that job seekers today, particularly Gen Z, want to work in a diverse and inclusive environment where leadership prioritizes DEI, and that really reflects the world in their communities. And on top of that, diverse and inclusive workplaces are proven to drive better business outcomes due to people feeling supported and empowered to do their best work, but also because a diversity of experience leads to better outcomes in business. And so this is especially true in our industry, where you're often relying on visa programs to fill seasonal roles. In other words, DEI is really table stakes today. And it's something that can have an impact on your ability to recruit and retain talent, book more rooms, and provide unmatched guest experiences. So let's take a look at some of our advice when it comes to the actual job design. Number one, audit your benefits. Job seekers today are looking for more than a paycheck. They want to feel like they can grow with their employers and that they're making a difference. And based on the survey, we know many hotels are taking the steps necessary to offer these benefits. Take some time to audit what you offer. Visit your own career site and shop it and just note the experience. Audit yourself. See how you stack up to your competitors. Go to their career website. See how they're talking about it. And identify opportunities for messaging around benefits that you can add to ensure that you're remaining competitive, right? That you're at par, but even better, start asking yourself, what do we need to do to stand out from the crowd here in our local market? You can only do that if you're looking at what everyone else is doing and comparing it to what you're doing. So the good news is that you're likely, if you're in this, in this range of offerings, you're already offering the perks job seekers are looking for, like flexibility and growth. You now need to find a way to make that clear in your employment branding. So if you've got the actual benefits but fall short on messaging, you have a great product that more people need to know about. You can take advantage of that. Second, rewrite your job descriptions. Once you have a grasp of what you can offer job seekers and how you want to message those offerings, it's really important to clearly state it in your job descriptions. Job descriptions are marketing documents. There are some legal requirements of duties and responsibilities, but gone are the days of simply stating what the job entails. Your job descriptions should resemble, by and large, an ad for a product or a service. We are selling a product to the market, right? The labor market. We are retailing a product here. We need to sell what job seekers get out of working for you. Lead with key perks like culture, flexibility, and other benefits that you have, and then dive into the requirements and duties of the role. But that should be all below the fold. We want to sell people on why we're different. That starts with rewriting job descriptions. And then finally, update your career site. With updated job descriptions in hand, take the same approach with your career site. I mentioned this in the audit. Think of it like the homepage of your hotel, your consumer-facing website. Your employment brand and your recruiting brand and your consumer brand are all the same brand. They're all the same brand. What do you offer that job seekers want? What makes you different from the hotel down the street, or for Target for that matter, or Amazon? Use your career site to shout these selling points from the rooftops. Career growth is the one critical benefit that I mentioned a few slides ago, and I think it is worth mentioning here. One thing I've seen some hotel customers do really well is sell their growth opportunities by featuring employees who have moved around and grown within the organization. Highlight actual staff who have had real success. Highlight those workers who started out in positions in entry-level roles like housekeeping and food service and moved their way into management position. Maybe you have a front desk worker who's your F&B manager now, and then moved on to a general manager role. Make these stories known in your employment branding. Show that the hospitality sector, and most importantly, your operating group, offers so much more growth than people think. All right, now let's dig into questions we asked around talent sourcing. When we asked respondents to select all of the sourcing channels that they use, it's clear that most are catching a wide net and really doing everything they can do, using a good mix of different sources, which include job boards, employee referral programs, and career fairs. What this tells us is that a multi-channel sourcing strategy is the norm in hospitality, and it's something that you absolutely need to do in order to remain competitive in the sector. You can't just invest all of your time and resources into one source and hope it works out. You need to have a presence across a range of sources and prioritize your investments in the ones that drive the best results, which brings me to my next point. We know hotels and resorts are using a good mix of sources, but which sources are performing the best? We asked respondents which source drives the highest volume of candidates, and paid and organic job boards topped the list by a long shot. But when we asked respondents where they're getting the highest quality applicants, we see a really interesting divergence. Referral programs top the list. overtaking both paid and organic job boards and career fairs. What this tells you is there is a quality versus quantity situation at play. And if you want to drive sheer volume of candidates, which I think is none of you, job boards is absolutely your best bet. But if you're looking to maximize quality, you might want to prioritize referrals and job boards. With referrals, certainly first. And given the high turnover in our space, it's always better to focus on quality over quantity. Why bring people in the door who aren't a good fit, who don't want to be there, just to quickly fill the roles and have them leave inside of 90 days? This 90-day turnover issue is really hurting us in the industry. Prioritizing quality workers who want to grow with your company long term, who come from referrals, are much more likely to be working for you 3 years from now than those sourced off a job board. As being a top driver of quality candidates, most hotels aren't doing everything they can do to get the most out of these programs. For the most part, hotels are relying on spreadsheets to track referral candidates and word of mouth to promote their employee referral program. Only about a quarter use text message to promote the program. Now, overall, about 41% said they wish more employees would participate. Okay, therein lies the opportunity. Why is this an issue? Well, because if you think about your workforce and their day-to-day jobs, they're not necessarily incentivized to participate in your program. If you're rarely communicating your program with your staff, or failing to consistently and frequently promote the roles you're looking to fill and the bonus payout you're offering, you're going to have lower participation rates. You got to think about it like a marketing campaign for your property. You want to reach your team on the channels they're using, which is these days their phone through text, especially in hospitality where your staff is on their feet all day long. You got to have the right message through the right channel. If you're emailing, that's not as good as having a text-based referral program. So let's dig into some advice we have around referral programs and sourcing in general. Number one, track sourcing related metrics and adjust accordingly. If you're like most operators in this industry, you're using a wide range of channels to source applicants, but do you actually know which channels provide the best return on investment? Start tracking metrics like applicants by source, hires per source, costing per applicant, to paint a clearer picture of which sources drive the most impact. From there, you can plan for adjustments that you can make to optimize time and resources. Second, modernize your employee referral program. We know that these programs are the top source of quality talent in our industry today, but most hotels rely on outdated tools and strategies to manage these programs, which limits this channel's potential. It is time to ditch the spreadsheets and inconsistent promotion tactics and get really intentional about your employee referral program. Boost participation and thus quality candidates by sending regular campaigns internally to your team, reminding them of open roles and bonus payout amounts, and do it through text. Invest in tools that allow you to execute all of this without ever leaving whatever applicant tracking system you're using. And then leverage your existing talent database. Do you ever wish you could bring a former employee back? Maybe they left for greener pastures, but that's someone you'd love to have back on staff. Or hire a candidate you interviewed for a role last year that you liked that declined and ended up going somewhere else. Well, you can do all that now. Leveraging relationships you've built over time can actually be a really lucrative way, strategy to fill former roles. So start by getting your database in order by centralizing all former employees eligible for rehire, your former applicants and candidates, and former employee referrals. And then you start nurturing these groups through regular campaign messages. Of course, getting this right is a massive undertaking. So consider recruitment platforms, of course, like Hireology, that facilitate advanced database management and communication automation. And then fourth, because so many hospitality employers are using Indeed, the site can be incredibly competitive. So if you're not finding the results you're looking for with their organic listings, you really want to consider sponsoring your critical open roles. So on average, Indeed sponsored jobs result in about 55% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs, and are about 4.5 times more likely to result in a hire than non-sponsored jobs. So when you really need to make it happen, sponsoring jobs on Indeed is a great strategy to drive quality and volume simultaneously. Next, I want to touch on the overall hiring process. What happens when you do get good candidates on board? How fast are your competitors moving? What's holding all of you back? We asked respondents how fast they're responding to initial applicants when they apply, and 14% said they typically respond same day, right? While another 32% respond within 2 days, and while this equates to 46% responding to applicants within 2 days, I think there's opportunity here for forward-thinking hotel operators to get ahead. In other industries, we are seeing twice as many employers as a percentage responding same day. So I guess what that says as an industry is we need to be twice as fast as we are in response rates. It's also worth mentioning what we know about applicants from our applicant study is 61% of applicants accept the first job offer they receive. So it means if you're not first, you're losing. And if we need to be twice as fast to just be as fast as our competitors in other industries, 61% of the market is gone by the time we're showing up for about half of us. So there is real opportunity here. Beyond the initial applicant response, we found that many hotels are moving relatively fast. 27% say they're able to get hires moved through in less than 1 week on average, and another 45% saying they can do it inside of 2 weeks. Now, again, given what we know from applicants, given that they're taking the first offer they receive, not only that, but they're dropping out of the process when it takes too long, you need to run a hiring process that takes less than 2 weeks, or you're going to be missing out on the best talent on the market, and your ability to fill rooms and provide great guest experience is going to continue taking a hit. So what's holding us back from moving faster? When we asked respondents, HR leaders and HR managers in the industry to rank their top hiring bottlenecks, reviewing new applicants topped the list, followed by scheduling interviews, then collecting paperwork, and then keeping track. All of these are extremely cumbersome manual tasks if you're trying to do this all without the right technology. So it's absolutely understandable these steps are holding us back. And the good news is there's lots of tech out there built to help overcome these bottlenecks. We'll get into that here. When it comes to slow moving process, right? If your goal is to be first in the market to getting offers out, responding within a day, hiring within a week, being the first offer, here's what we typically advise our hotel customers. Number one, you've got to track everything. To remain competitive in today's market, you've just got to move fast. But much like sourcing, it's really difficult to improve anything if you are not measuring any of it. So you've got to start tracking hiring speed and process adherence across locations so that you can use your very valuable time and apply it to where problems are emerging, not problems that have existed a week too late, right? Is interview scheduling slowing you down, or is it your background check process? If you don't know, you can't help. And make the necessary adjustments to your processes and tech stack based on what you find. You want to embrace automation. No matter how many people you have on staff in HR, human beings can only do so much. And these human limitations will prevent you from moving faster in your hiring process at a certain point. May already be doing that now. And that's really where automations come into play. We know HR teams are bogged down by the time it takes to respond to applicants, to track them, to get interviews scheduled, manage all of this process with a cohort of hiring managers at properties that have a million other things going on other than responding to applicants. And so let automation streamline these tasks. Many tools out there, including Hireology, offer everything you need to drastically reduce the time spent on these tasks, allowing you to hire faster, focusing on more important work. And you got to capture that be first 61% market. That's what you need to do. And then finally, adopt a modern ATS. Modernizing and centralizing all of your hiring steps makes such a big difference when you want to reduce time to hire. So for example, the time it takes to manually switch from your email account back to your hiring platform to communicate with candidates, and then we're trying, we'd love to implement text messaging, but we're using, kind of a bundled ATS as part of a payroll platform. It doesn't do it, or it costs a lot of money. I mean, there are ways to get over these humps here. Look for platforms that offer everything you need. Self-servingly, I would say, talk to us about this. We're really good at all these things, from distributing job boards to making offers to text messaging to campaigning to reporting. You've got to take it to the next level in order to compete. And finally, I want to spend some time looking at one of the hottest topics of the past year, artificial intelligence. AI absolutely will revolutionize the hiring process for the better, I think, but employers, not just hotels, rightfully have concerns about using this tech. I think it's critical that you as an employer spend more time understanding it, because those that do embrace this technology will be the ones that win before others catch up. So currently, only about 14% of hotels are using AI in any capacity in the recruitment process, which means that you have a window to create distinct competitive process advantage here if you adopt it now. So it's new in the industry. It's new in all industries, frankly, but in our industry, only about 14% of hotels are doing anything with it. It means you have a window to take advantage of that. 60% say they feel somewhat or very comfortable with the idea of using AI, which just means your team members are willing to use it. They just don't know what to do. They're not scared. They just don't know how. However, when asked where they see AI playing a role in the hiring process, most, 28%, reported they feel AI could help the most with writing job descriptions. The next highest selection is I don't know. So that tells you everything you need to know about AI and hospitality. I can plug job descriptions into ChatGPT, but that's kind of all I've done with it. Overall, I think what these last 3 slides tell you is that hotel operators are curious about AI, and they're open to the concept of using it to make applying to their jobs easier, but most just don't really understand how it could work in a practical sense. And then finally, it's tough to bring up AI in recruitment without addressing a very valid concern about bias. So when asked, about 36% of HR leaders in our industry said they do feel concerned about biases that might potentially arise with AI in recruiting. Now, recruiting in HR is a highly personal and very complex field where the right answers and decisions are almost never clear-cut. It is natural to have some concerns and reservations about adding AI to the mix. So while adding AI to your recruitment process has the potential to complete tasks in a human-like manner, it will always lack the intuition and nuanced perspective that human beings bring to the table. AI tools only know about the historical information you provided, but human beings can textualize a person's potential beyond data points. Without a human touch, you're just not going to guarantee that the best decision is going to be made. So what's our advice? Really straightforward. You want to experiment with public AI resources, number one. The data shows that hotel operators are cautious, but curious. So the good news is you can experiment with AI without making massive investments. You can have these tools draft candidate emails or job descriptions. But whatever you do, don't really use it for decision making, which I'll get to in a second. If you're interested in getting more in depth with AI, many ATSs like Hireology are beginning to integrate AI into their platform. So you want to look for solutions that offer tools like automated communication, AI-based interview scheduling, and more. Software providers that are already offering AI in these ways are going to be the leaders in their market, and the hotels that adopt that software are going to be the best in their respective field. And so you can do all of these things, but the third thing is really critical. AI has the potential to revolutionize hiring for the better, but for that to be possible, it needs to be trained on complete and accurate data. So that means each and every applicant and candidate in your talent database must have a complete profile, and every rejection or interview or hire has to be logged in the system with as much information as possible. If you don't have that information, there's nothing to make an AI model smarter. With a clean database, you're able to leverage time-saving tools that are coming down the road, like candidate recommendation engines and automated campaigning, enhanced job description writers, and so much more. But your data's got to be right. And to get your data right, you got to have the right technology partner or recruitment. And that's really, what you need to be thinking about right now. And then the final point, which I touched on earlier, concerns around bias and discrimination are critical. AI-driven hiring processes depend on the quality of the data used to train the algorithms, and biases present in that data can be made a lot worse by AI, which lead to unintentional discriminatory outcomes. So here it is. AI should be used to empower your team to work the process side of recruiting more effectively, but not to automate in any way the decision-making process for whom you're hiring, right? Keep AI out of decision-making and use it to leverage operational efficiency. If you do that, you're going to be safe with it. And that's what I got for you today. As I mentioned earlier, if you like what you saw here with this data, our team has got all of this into a report for anyone who's interested to access it. Our scheduled release date for this report is coming up, so be on the lookout for an email from our marketing team, or you can visit hirology.com/guides after February 5th, 2024 to get the download. In the meantime, we'll be sending out a recording of today's webinar in case you want to reference any of the data before the report is live. As always, it's wonderful to have you here. My name is Adam Robinson, again, founder and CEO of Hirology. On behalf of my team, thank you. And if there's any way we could be of service, just reach out. Thanks. Make it a great day.